Rao amohela ho Tseba ka Morero. Sethala sena ke seo sona re qoqang ditaba tsohle tsa tshebetso ya morero wa metsi a dihlaba tsa Lesotho. Re tla qoqa ditaba tsena ka mekgwa e mmedi. Re tla tlisa melaetsa e hlahang ka hara morero e hlokwang ke setjhaba. Re tla boela hape re dumella setjhaba hore ka dipotso, ditataiso le dikgothaletso re tle re thehe sehloho seo re tla se qoqa. Ka mantswe a mang re tla sebetsa le lona haholo hore le tle le re fe dipotso tsa lona hore na le batla ho tseba eng ka morero. Diqholotso tseo le di fumaneng mona morerong ke difeng? Dipelaelo, mafosisa e ka sena le ditabatabelo tsa rona ke difeng? Re tla etsa bonnete ba hore ditaba tseo kaofela di a hlahella mme re qoqa mmoho le lona. Ha re tsamayeng leeto lena mmoho ho tseba ka morero wa metsi a dihlaba tsa Lesotho. Now let's come to your favorite part. Let's talk about the 10-year strategy. What are the key goals and vision that is outlined in this strategy, and how does it align with these other objectives that you are talking about?
Yeah, this one wants me to. I almost feel like standing up when I talk about the Lhda 10-year strategy. You know, Ndarefoma, one of the questions that we often get asked, why a 10-year strategy? Mm-hmm. And when you formulate your strategy, you are going to have outputs which are more short-term. Within a month or within a year, then you're going to have outputs. And then you'll have outcomes, which needs to be measured over a slightly longer period. In the case of Lhda, for our strategy to have clear impacts of what our strategy is trying to achieve, we need a longer period. It takes us more than 5 years to build a dam. It takes us more than 5 years to build a tunnel. So if one of our goals is to increase the amount of water that we transfer to South Africa, we're not going to realize that until after the project is complete. Mm. If one of our goals is to increase energy supply to Lesotho, we're not going to realize that until the dam is there, until the tunnel is there to be able to transfer that water. So that's what moved us into a 10-year strategy. And the other driver for our 10-year strategy was with dwindling funds coming from the Lesotho government. We were pretty much challenged as an organization. And as the saying always say, you don't grow when things are easy. Mm-hmm. You grow when you're facing challenges. We were facing serious financial constraints which were threatening the existence of the same Lhda. So we decided to take a few steps back, look at our founding instruments to see, in these instruments, is there nothing that we could use to maybe re-emphasize or justify our existence so that we can be able to exist going forward? Because one thing that we realized was, unless the paradigm shift of reliance on government subvention changes, then we would not be able to survive as the Lhda. Because currently whatever revenue we generate goes into the government coffers and we go and beg like everyone else. We don't say we have contributed so much that we deserve more. No, and government priorities change as we move along. So those were some of the drivers to say, what is it that we can do, whether independently or in collaboration with others, to make sure that we increase our contribution so that what comes back would enable us to survive. That's really what prompted us to come up with this new 10-year strategy. Now, coming back to your question, what are the goals? We have 5 goals in there. The first goal is to ensure inclusive access to water and electricity by the people of Lesotho and South Africa. How do we achieve inclusive access? And the key word there being inclusive. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said earlier, what are we doing currently? We transferring water, we generating electricity. But is access to this water?
How people getting to this process?
Exactly. So now we're going to be deliberate about making sure that we don't just transfer water to South Africa. We also deliberate by transferring water for consumption in Lesotho. And what is it that we're going to do differently? Let's start with the communities out there. We always slated for having this massive reservoir at the doorstep of the communities, but they don't have access to the same water. Mm-hmm. And the solutions that we came with previously was to look at the wells up the mountains, the springs and everything, and try to draw water from there. They dry out. Once there is a bit of a lull in rain coming in, there's a drought, those springs dry out. But the reservoirs, you find there's still abundance of water. So we said, as long as Lhda is there, as long as Lhda has operation and maintenance staff there, as long as Lhda is able to draw water from the same reservoir, treat it and supply its own people in the camps. We have Katse village, we have Mohale village, we have the Killing camp, we're now going to have Pudihadi village. If we have staff doing that kind of operation, why would it not be possible for them to do the same for the communities? So if there's a dam, if it's being maintained, then we should be able to supply water from the same dam to the neighboring communities. That will count as one of our supply of water to Lesotho. That's what we mean by inclusive access to water. I spoke about Morero River and the 15 million cubic meters that can be stored in Muela Dam over the years. The same water, we now collaborating with Lesotho Lowlands Development Project to get access to that water, so it can be distributed amongst the lowlands towns. If you go to along the the tunnel to Pudihadi, there is an adit there, Hlotse adit. During the outage, what's going to happen? Lesotho Lowlands Phase 2, Lesotho Lowlands Development Project Phase 2 of that. They are going to take advantage of the outage, and we've allowed them to connect to the tunnel system, to the LHW tunnel system. So there will be that possibility of them drawing water from that tunnel system into the Hlotse River. You know about the dam that they are planning to build near, I can't remember the name of the village, but it's along the Hlotse River. So if there is not enough flow in the river and there was a bit of drought, then they can open the valve and start drawing from and fill up the dam. And that would be a supply system for the areas of Hlotse, Mapuche, and the rest. So that will count as also one of our supply or inclusive access to water, inclusive access to electricity. We are already looking at establishing solar farms, whether they are floating or whether we place it on a dry land, on an island surrounded by one of our reservoirs. But those feasibilities are in progress right now. And what are we going to do? The whole idea is we put this into the grid, we will engage with LEC and our own affected households, we're going to identify them as beneficiaries out of that electricity that we're generating. So there will be some form of finding a way of subsidizing those affected communities. But even the wider areas, communities will have access to the same electricity. So as we generate more electricity and make it available to the grid, more Basotho will have access to that same electricity. That's our goal number one. Mm-hmm. Goal number two has to do with restoration of the ecosystems. Here we are talking about the physical environment, the wetlands, the rangelands, and everything. This is the system that is important for this commodity called water. Because if we didn't have this wetlands or the ecosystem in totality, what would happen? Yeah. When it rains and when the snow falls?
The water will just flow back into...
It will just come in
down to the sea.
And it would be gone to the sea. But we have the system in the form of wetlands that draws this water, sift the impurities out of it, and it comes out as clean water. And the natural system, these natural dams that we have a way of giving water into the system in a more sensible way. So it doesn't allow everything to come in and go over the period. That's why you find the rivers flowing over a longer period of time after the rains. Is because the system has that ability to hold the water and release it more gently back into the system. So it comes out clean, impurities out. So what we are seeing currently is degradation of those wetlands. a lot of erosion coming from the mountains, a lot of soil accumulating into our reservoir. The space that we had created for water is now being taken up by a lot of eroded soils. So we having the integrated catchment management program where we making sure we're dealing with erosion, making sure that our mountains are covered again in grass. And as the water flows on top of that grass, it's just beautiful, clean water, as opposed to muddy water coming back into the LHWP system. So that's really looking after the ecosystem being our second goal. The middle pillar of our 5 goals, goal number 3, is improvement of the livelihoods of the people of Lesotho and South Africa. I'll speak more about Lesotho because I'm speaking on behalf of LHDA, which is a company responsible in Lesotho. Improvement of the livelihoods of the people of Lesotho. This is one of the most important goals because you will find it clearly tracking back to the treaty preamble. It's woven into that preamble. So it is key. And this is our focus now, us trying to have our priorities right. What do we mean about improvement of the livelihoods of the people of Lesotho? Immediately one thinks of the affected people. We are saying the livelihoods of the people of Lesotho. There's a lot of things that we are doing and we are not claiming credit for as the project. Let me give you one example. Earlier I said one of the things that we've heard about in Lesotho, in bigger parts of Lesotho, is load shedding, because we have not experienced it to the same extent as others have experienced it in South Africa. And other towns in Lesotho, Kachasnek is fed directly from Eskom feed on the southern side of the country. When you go to the other side, Mogotlong is fed through the line coming through Clarence, going up the mountain, let's say all the way to Mogotlong. They have experienced load shedding. The rest of the country have not. Why? Because of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, Muel Hydropower Station. Is that not an improvement of the livelihoods of the people of Lesotho? It is, but we are not claiming it. Nobody realizes that. Let's talk about the Advanced Infrastructure Program. The roads that we are building and taming this rugged terrain in the Maluti Mountains. It was back in 2016 after a decision was made to say which route are we going to use to get to Pudihadi. To get to one of the villages, that stretch was about 6 or so kilometers. It took us 2 hours to get there and 2 hours back. But I can guarantee you right now you'll do it in less than 10 minutes. When we went there to tell the villagers about the project coming, they told us It was 2016. The last time we saw a vehicle here was in 2012. Now you travel there, you see the 4+1s of this world traversing the area. You see kids jumping onto a 4+1 going to school. Tell me that's not improvement of the livelihoods of the people. Yes, we owe it to those affected communities to also have a standard of living that's better than what existed before. And it's an area that we have not done well on. And we're going to focus on them as well. That's why earlier on I spoke about making sure they have access to subsidized energy. Because those communities, where did they get their source of energy? They used to go and collect wood in the rivers, in the forests, which now they will not have access to. What is the alternative? Electricity. Let's make it available to them. That's goal number 3. Number 4, that is driven by the challenges we were beginning to experience, financial challenges. And we said the Lhda, when it was established, it was meant to be a vehicle that can self-sustain and generate more socio-economic value for the country. Mm-hmm. So this is where we're talking about commercialization. We're building all these lodges. We used to contract them out and still pay that management contractor money, and they would still say we are not making money. But we run in Mohali ourselves, and Mohali is starting to make money. So we believe if we have a say in the running of the lodges, if we play a role in the tourism industry, we would start to self-sustain. Aquaculture programs. Currently, we just getting the fish, farming the fish, selling it out as is. We're not generating more value into it. By processing and the like. Those are areas that we are going to venture into. The solar energy that I spoke about, it's not just intended to cover Lesotho's needs. We are reacting to our minister's call when he said Lesotho should be a net exporter of renewable energy. And we're raising our hand high and saying, over and above Muela generation, over and above Oxbow generation, we are going to have these solar farms. In the end, Lesotho will be able to export. Exportation of energy can come in different forms and shapes. One of them could be those industries out there realizing there is a source of energy in Lesotho may choose to come and establish in the country. And where will the source be? In the project area. And as they establish there, job opportunities for people from the area. Isn't that adding socio-economic value?
Definitely.
Isn't that making sure that we have sustained beneficiation by the parties? So this is where we're getting at with our goal number 4. Now finally, and that is Hloma, goal number 5 is one that is key to all the 4. None of the 4 would work efficiently without goal number 5, which is good cooperative governance and management capacity. If we don't have the capacity as LHDA to do all these things, we need the human resource capacity. We need the technical capacity to be able to implement all these goals. And even if we have that, if we don't have good corporate governance, then the cancer for good operating organization, which is corruption, will come in and spoil the fun for everybody. So we need to have good corporate governance to guard against all of this. We need to establish policies. We need to have good management practices that will ensure that once we have that foundation, all these other goals will be able to self-sustain. So those are the 5 goals that are captured in the LHDA 10-year strategy.
President, thank you for providing us with these insights. This concludes our episode for today. Please, as I said, remember to put your comments below and ask any questions that you may need clarity on, and what other issues you would like to know from Ndate, so that on his future podcast, we can ask him questions directly from yourselves. Ndate, it's been a pleasure to have you here. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It's always a pleasure to know more about the LHWP, what the vision is, where we are taking this project from here to the next phase and the likes. It's very interesting for people to know from me, but it is even more special when they hear it from the authorities that are actually making the decisions. Thank you, Ndate, for seeing us today.
Thank you for the opportunity, Ndate. I'm available at any other time. Thank you.
Follow us on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm your host, Malaki Nhloma. This has been another episode of Tseba Morero, your favorite podcast.